I'm never usually available for these things. I was just clicking around over there. Dennis said I was going to play Pittsburgh. I was clicking around and I said, "Oh my God, he put that in 2:33 p.m."
Yeah. Here we are. We are live now. Well, welcome aboard, Michael. Welcome aboard, Dennis.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right. We've got a Battle Royale playoff preview. We got Michael with us. We have Dennis with us, and I am Anthony of Rochester. And let's take a look. Just looking back, Michael just talked about last night's game. Rochester, my squad, got past Canton. Untimely turnovers, a couple unlikely ones from Canton turned the game. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it or not.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see it, but I did. Tyke brought me up to speed. I actually have a broadcast of the last 5 minutes. I'm going to put it up. I've totally been swamped today, but he said that there was one really good run call on third down that changed a 63-yard touchdown into a 3-yard first down or something like that.
Yeah, there was a 12 roll on off tackle for it's good. It's a good observation for Jonathan for Taylor there. Yeah,
it's tough to stop a guy like that. Eventually, he's going to hit one of those big numbers. But it sounds like you did a great job.
I called a lot of run. Called a lot of run in that game, much more than I typically do, as the stats would suggest. And that's not what won me the game. It turned out, as a matter of fact, I was going to the defensive card a lot. Guessed right. And he was getting those 10, 12-yard readings. That happens sometimes, just part of the way the game runs. And that was frustrating in the first half, but paled in comparison to the good rolls to be had in the second half with those turnovers. The game day before was a good one. 30-27 win. Comments there, please.
Great. Well, before we go to that one, I thought the turning point was that like 2-12 or 2-3-12 interception split on a flat pass.
Yeah,
that put the nail in the coffin, and that's something that you don't expect when you have poor pass defense. And I'm sure that caught him by surprise, but that's the way the dice roll sometimes. So you got to take advantage of it.
Was he down 7 at that point?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, 14. 14 or 7.
No, I think it was 7, and then that. Oh no, maybe it was, but it was one of those things. Oh, forget it now. It's not happening.
Right. Yeah, I think it was 14 at that point. At that point, it's 14. So it's 7 when you had the wide receiver fumble.
Oh yeah.
And then that turned it to. Sorry, it's 4 with the wide receiver fumble. That turned to 7, 6 and out. Rochester drove after a punt to make it 14. Then the INT happened, I believe.
Yeah, that was a killer. Yeah. But I thought also you did a good job taking advantage of those momentum shifters. So as soon as you got the ball, you didn't just punt it back to him. You use those turnovers well, and especially on the last one where it's you caught him on a 3rd and 10. You hit for a bomb, and that was put you up 14 or something like that. So
yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that's the one that really separated it. When you do things like that, I'm not going to do that all the time, but in that particular case, in that particular circumstance, it was about he is a good pass D. If you're going to decide to get the first down, then you are going to take the risk of an interception versus a good pass D. So you're accepting that risk, even if you're throwing flat. You got a 2-5 situation flat on the good card. So therefore, I'm throwing deep not for points. I'm throwing deep because if I get picked, it's a punt.
Exactly.
And he's got to return it from inside his 10. That's why you throw deep there, not because I'm trying to actually score another touchdown. It's if I'm going to take a chance and go for it, then I'm best off to go for it deep in that situation. That's
totally agree.
Yeah. Of course, I always find a reason to throw deep. You give me enough variables, I'll find a way to throw deep. I just like it that way.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. Big plays, turnovers, usually tail to tail. And on Michael's battle, I thought it was just a great back and forth game. Whoever had the ball last was going to win there. They some huge calls and great. I think Mike had a 3rd and short where he hit a bomb to Wally Cox that hit a receiver split plus 25 on an 11 or something like that. And that was the key play of the game. But the fact that you're going deep there, is the right play, because you're going to catch him in a run call or zero him in zone, and you got to take advantage of those situations.
Yeah,
Right?
I did want to jump back to Anthony's game. I was just looking at the box score last night, and a couple things I noticed that stuck out where you two were 5 for 20 on third downs. It was very difficult. It looked like moving the ball. And then the second item was there were 5 fumbles, and Rochester recovered 4 of them. That looked like a pretty big key right there.
Yeah.
In addition, obviously, the 2 Burrow picks.
Yeah. There was the first Burrow pick. I returned and fumbled, and lost that fumble at his 20. So there were 2 turnovers wrapped up into that play. And then from that point forward, so I lost that first fumble battle. I think I won every fumble battle after that. Yeah, which obviously makes a big difference. It's the Antonio Williams fumble. Got that one. The Burrow fumble. And the Burrow fumble is like having Mahomes on your squad, right? If you're going to draft Burrow or draft Mahomes, you've walked into the season accepting that's a fact of life, that you're going to have an extra fumble maybe every other game or worse, especially if you're throwing flat with Burrow, right? Because it's going to go to the receiver card more, therefore generate more fumbles on the receiver card. And that's what happened on that one. Picked that one up too. But yeah, it was very fortunate bounces for the Jeffersons.
Right, yeah. And then I know Dennis asked about my game. Yeah, back and forth game. Neither one of us could stop each other. He punted twice. The first 2 times he had the ball, it was a 3 and a punt and a 6 and a punt. And after that, he didn't punt again the rest of the game. I didn't punt until the fourth quarter. No turnovers in the game, and we both pretty much went up and down the field anytime we needed to. Yeah, it was very, very difficult for us to stop each other.
Very clean game. It looks. I mean, just like I was able to watch it quickly. I mean, as you say, no turnovers. It also converted 4th downs, so no effective turnovers either. Right on on turnovers on downs. It's just a clean game back and forth. And you clearly, Michael, had a run first strategy, right? I'm just taking a look at some stats here. I'm not sure if you've been a big runner all year or not, but you came out running and kept it going, right? I mean, you said, yeah, I don't care if these guys get fatigued.
I played him earlier this season, and Mahomes had, without a doubt, the worst game he's ever played for me. He was 8 for 34. And I said to myself, you know what? I don't want to get in this situation where, and what happened was I ended up losing by 7. I actually had the lead 10-9 going into the fourth quarter in that game, amazingly. And I kept getting stubborn saying, I got to complete a short pass at some point. And I kept throwing and throwing and throwing, and it was incomplete over and over and over again. And I got so frustrated by it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to let that happen again. He's got good defense. He likes to play 4-man zone, that short pass zone. Throwing into that is not easy when the guy has good defense in the 4-man. I pretty much have to land on my card. And at one point, I threw 12 short passes against him in the other game, and only 4 landed on my card. And I probably had 2 or 3 completions in those 12 plays. And I said, you know what? If he's going to call run, which I knew he was going to call, a lot of pass, why not just take advantage of it? I have 40-something carries with the 4 running backs. And that was really the game plan right from the get-go. And I knew I was kind of overrunning the first half, and I knew I had to throw it a little bit in the second half. And so I tried to just kind of mix in some of the passes in the second half, and it worked out well for me. And I got very lucky. You keep hitting the short gains. I had other games I ran 12 times, and my long run was 9, and it felt like every half the time I was hitting my card, I was hitting short gain, which, must have been very frustrating for him.
It was, you got some good backs there. We talked about that in the preview show. I mean, those are, to me, one of the best sets. Let's see, where'd you get them? You got them as far
Second
as
round.
halfback sets. They were the ninth to go.
Ninth pick.
But see, second round, but ninth to go.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
you know, I would have taken him ahead of at least the two that you see ahead of him there. I don't know about you, Dennis, but I would have gone ahead of Philly and Green Bay with New England on the halfback cruise. Philly because of the fumbles, and Green Bay because I just think New England has better all around cards. You can get whatever you need out of New England. The only thing you can't get is a big home run, but otherwise,
41 is the long, right?
Yeah. If you need somebody to catch the ball, Burkhead will do that. You know, you need end run guess right yardage. Burkhead will do that. You need running in the middle. All three of them can do that. Those are great backs, and they give you 30-some carries. I'm a big supporter.
Yeah, you know, I ran low on carries the other day. I don't want to let out too many secrets, but I had not run Mr. White, James White, the entire year. I was running so low on carries, I jumped into his card, and I go, "Oh, look at this! I never even looked at his end run wrong. Is not bad."
Yeah.
So I came out in the second and short, and I ran him end run long. Of course, I hit the D card. I got a +9, but still, I was surprised. Even James White, he can tote the rock if I need it.
Yeah, and you can certainly catch the ball too. So,
right.
All right, let's move to the matchups. Unless you have anything else, Dennis, on the week 1, we have the number 1 seed. Okay, so number 1 seed Ann Arbor selected my Jeffs.
It's too tempting when you see a team with poor pass defense.
Yeah.
You got to. I think that was like a no-brainer pick for him, but you're not the typical poor pass defense type team. So,
well, yeah, I mean, Prescott really, if you look at the first game, Prescott just tore, as I mentioned in the note last night, Prescott tore apart probably the best quarterback performance against, and there's a lot of good ones against Rochester this year, but 28 of 38, 324, which is a big number in this set in this year, 3 TDs, no INTs. You see his longs. If you scan his receivers, he connected deep, 56, 30, 42. You see for 3 of the receivers. And, you know, as you look at the matchups, you know, across the offensive line, he's got Ann Arbor has the which one of us is Ann Arbor? Remind me the name. I don't have the let's see here. Dallas QB.
This Tyke is the
Tyke.
Ann Arbor coach.
Yeah, Tyke. Thank you.
11.
Thank you. The offensive line, San Fran, is not particularly adept at pass blocking. There's a 2 on there, and there's a 3 on there. 3 at one of them's at center, one of them's at guard. So if you go 4-3 and you're blitzing Watt, you get the 12 up against that low guy. So there's basically 200% sacks on there. He has Juszczyk in the backfield, so that means you don't safety blitz as much, and you just go for the higher percentages. But anyway, connecting on deep balls, it's like, well, you know, I kind of want you to throw deep. You know, I should be able to get my fair share of sacks, and the weapon that Tyke has to counteract that is Kittle. So Kittle's card, because I have 2 5s at corner. Okay, so going with Kittle's card, if I can move fast enough here, gives him a good long pass option deep to counteract what I think is a good matchup. But he proved last game that, hey, you know what? He can hit him. I mean, there you go. There you see Kittle. I mean, it's not eye-popping, right? I mean, it's not that much different than a Zach Ertz or a who's your guy, Dennis, who you play blocking back for
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Meyer. I mean, you got that 42 on 4, right? But get the completion on 7 for 25. So it's not earth-shattering. But against my 4 strong safety, that's who he should go to versus the 5s on the outside. It turns out he completed against all of them. Prescott is not going to do much on his own card, or at least he shouldn't, except maybe get some must runs.
Yeah, I noticed before I played Tyke, he has no problem throwing deep, even though, you know, Prescott has the bad long pass right column. You know, if he can get it on our cards and get a run call, you know, he's looking good. So, yeah, I did notice he threw a lot long for a quarterback that doesn't have a good guess right long.
Yep. Correct.
But it
Tyke
worked.
through Ann Arbor was 6th in the league in long pass attempts, 99 on the year. With that card, right? That's absolutely a statement. And plenty of damage you can do flat pass. So if I start overextending the linebackers, blitzing, he can do anything he wants. Flat pass with Prescott, certainly a mid card there. Juszczyk is a great foil matched up against T.J. Watt at left linebacker. If Juszczyk goes uncovered, he can do some real damage, as we all know. You probably don't want Juszczyk running the ball much because of the fumble, but that doesn't hurt you here. And
Yeah, I
you
mean,
see that flat pass wrong.
He was the number one receiver, receiving stats on his team. 86 receptions. Robbie Anderson 75 and Kittle 74.
And that'll slow down Watt potentially, which makes a difference. It might make a difference in how the defense lines up too. Without getting too much into the detail here, if I'm not going to blitz Watts much, and I'm not going to safety blitz, then I may as well get Brandon Graham into the game at defensive left end instead of Josh Sweat, because that brings me a 6 into the game and a 12 who's a 2-star instead of the 10-0 that's there now. I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the preview show, but I start Sweat, who does not have the asterisk on the line. He's just a 10 because I want to devote the asterisk to TJ Watt's high asterisk, not alternate to Brandon Graham's low asterisk. Follow me? So it's either that to get an asterisk in the game. That's probably something to do. And of course, blitz Bud Dupree more out of the right linebacker slot, who does not have the asterisk but does have the 10. So that's probably the way it's going to play out, unless I want to take chances with leaving Juszczyk uncovered. The halfback Gibson does not obviously do anything short or long, but capable enough. Flat pass wrong card. Most halfbacks who are uncovered can get you 10 yards plus, and he certainly can. On offense, if you want to switch away from the Ann Arbor offense, switch over to the Rochester offense, we've got a average pass D for Ann Arbor and a good run D, which is the opposite of what you see out there a lot. Typically, your good defenses typically are good pass, average run. This is the other way around. Not much in the way of pass rush from this squad,
other than Tuitt.
Right. Yep. 8 sacks all year though for the squad, and you get Tuitt on the end. Plays a 3-4 with the San Francisco linebackers, which is an interesting choice because they're a 4-3 set. So he takes the zero linebacker, and just I think the reason why Tyke does that would just be to get the flats covered more, I imagine, and take that little bit of a hit, knowing his inside linebacker be covered up by Fred Warner, who's that's not Fred Warner. He doesn't have San Fran. Who does he have? Sorry, not San Fran. Confusing my teams here.
Bobby Wagner.
Wagner, thank you. That's the 6'6". Thank you. Yep, there's 6'6" there. So covered up with Wagner. And Seattle was a 4-3 linebacking team as well, transforming into a 3-4. DBs of Green Bay, which was his first round pick, and still ended up with that average pass D though, because of what the Seattle linebackers did to the rating. For the Rochester offense, I mean, it is a pass first offense, so that sort of helps facing an average pass D. It also helps having the best pass blocking unit out there with Pittsburgh versus an already pass rush hampered team of Ann Arbor. So should be able to drop back and throw it. But, Ann Arbor likes to call pass. Nobody called pass more in the league than Ann Arbor did. Number one in double team attempts at 788. And in calling pass, number one at 855 times called pass, guess pass on defense. So tries to cover up for that average D by double teaming a lot and passing a lot, and I'll have to adjust to that. The double teams can leave that long pass zone empty.
So the question is, do you have enough carries to just run them out of those pass calls?
Yeah. And the problem, though, is, I mean, when I ran against Tyke in the first game, it was highly unsuccessful. As I recall, let me see. It was one of those games where every end run wrong to Singletary was going to the 10 on the defensive card. Let's see. I think he just had a dreadful game. No, it wasn't bad. Okay, 13 for. Okay, thinking of a different game.
He couldn't run on you.
Yeah, he couldn't run on me. Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, Zach Moss didn't do much, but the matchups aren't particularly strong. He has two good ends, a 6 and a 5 out there. So Goddard goes up against a 5 on the right end. That's what Singletary lives on the end run, and Antonio Williams and Zach Moss live in the middle. So yeah, I mean that's one way to get there is to run often. And in my setup for the game, I can't go into too much detail. I plan to run more because of that, as you'd expect, to get more guest strong calls. But we'll see. We'll see if Tyke's listening to this. I know. We'll see if who adjusts best.
Yeah,
He's got a nice setup there with the D line, the 5-5-6 on the D line there.
Yep.
That's tough. You run wrong. You hit an X of some sort, and you're only going to win 1 out of 3 of those, or say 2 out of 6. It's really difficult.
Yeah, I thought you were going to give us your first 15 scripted plays. That's what we're doing in this thing, right?
Bill Walsh.
I don't know. I don't know if you can run Tyke out of his pass posture. I don't know. I mean,
hey, it's got him up to 14-3, so he's gonna stick with what works.
Yeah, you'd assume so.
Yeah, definitely the most dominating team this year. Deserve the number 1 seed by far.
Anything else on this game? Okay.
I really was surprised that Tyke was able to really put together the offense that he did with drafting the last quarterback with Prescott. He's done a tremendous job with him in that draft, taking the quarterback last. And I think he was second in the league in points. No, was he second? No, tied for third. Tied for fourth.
He's right in the mix, right in that top tier. Yeah, right in that top tier. Yeah. Mixing it up with the others, like in that 440 range. But that's absolutely true. I mean, you would not have expected a 93 rating for Prescott. That's a very well managed quarterback. Prescott faced guest right passing 79% of the time, right in the middle of the league. So it wasn't like he was living off guest wrong. And why would he? I mean, the halfbacks are, it's not Derrick Henry back there. So despite facing pretty regular pass calls, look at that, 29 TDs to 7 INTs.
Right. Yeah. Usually, how many cards have we seen that are really good flat passing cards, and the team kind of underperforms, or they can't be carried just on that? But he's done a great job with that. He's really made that flat pass card of Prescott's hurt people and to the number 1 seed. I mean, I never would have thought a flat pass card quarterback could get the number 1 seed in a league like this. But I don't know if it's maybe Dennis would know better. I don't know if it's based on the cards this year, and how the defenses were more difficult to get. We had a lot of average defenses out there this year than past years.
Yeah, that happened because of the linebackers. The linebackers don't have good pass ratings. So some people got stuck, like Anthony with poor. Greg of Presque Isle, didn't realize the thresholds were 24 and 27, thought they were 23 and 26. So he got dinged. So it's there was a lot more average, and there was no chance. I think Anthony said at the beginning, no chance to get excellent pass D, which is usually at least 1 or 2 combos to get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look at that. I mean, we'll talk about Butch in a minute, right? But take a look at this, right? The 18th quarterback and the 17th quarterback are both here in the second round of the playoffs. And both have played exceptionally well, and both are flat pass quarterbacks. In terms of flat pass, Minshew. Yep, Minshew in the mix too. Wisconsin finished second in the league with flat pass looking pass attempts, 361, and Ann Arbor third. So second and third in the league with flat pass attempts with those quarterbacks. both got to this round. So, and he's facing and I tell you what, that poor pass defense really does hurt on flat passes. And there's a reason why people throw them, because those off rolls on the defensive card, right? Meaning +2 or +5, those couple yards add up.
Yep.
Those couple, and that makes it, that gets you into 3rd and 3s, gets you into 3rd and 2s instead of 3rd and 5s, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah, you can convert short yardage very, very easily if pretty much everything you roll flat, you're either going to be on your card or you're going to be on that XD card, which you get a lot of those, and you're gonna make the play every time on offense.
Yep. Okay, well, let's move on. Number 2 seed is Erie. Is that correct, or is it Seattle?
Erie is correct.
Erie's correct.
We both finished the same record, but he beat me head-to-head.
Erie versus Dunedin is our matchup, and that's the only game without representation on this call. So let's take a look at the regular season matchup here.
51 to 10.
51 to 10.
Yeah, he said that was a fluke game. It was like one of those weird 3 turnovers, 3 interception games, 3 fumbles, something like that. He said.
Yeah, 3 lost fumbles, 4 total turnovers.
Mm-hmm. Got off to, let's see, halftime score. Yeah, 35 to 3 at half. Wow.
That was one of the other, the only other poor unit. Yeah, Denizen has a poor run defense.
Oh, yeah.
So we take a look.
Yeah, he actually did okay with the poor run defense. He only gave up 5 yards a run, 5.0, which is not crazy for a poor run defense.
There's your excellent run average pass for Erie, and then, as you said, for Dunedin, poor run average pass. Let's see, that's Brian F, right? Yep. Is
Correct.
Dunedin?
Yep, Brian Fulham.
Yeah, and very surprising, he got that excellent run D in the 2nd and 3rd round. He didn't even put a first.
That's good drafting.
Yeah, he didn't even. I can't believe we even let that. We let that happen.
Yeah, it was one of those things where a lot of people were already set their team to be a 4-3 defense, so he was able to pick up a 3-4 run D that had like low pass rush but high run ratings, I believe.
Yeah, another thing that had to do with it, there could only be 7 good pass ratings. And what happened was, after that first round, come around the 2nd round, those started to dry up, those good pass ratings. And then I think by the time Dennis and it got to us, Dennis, it was impossible to get good pass rating. We're in the 5 to 7 range picking. And that is where Brian picked up the Baltimore linebackers. And then in the 3rd round, he got the Baltimore D line to pick up the excellent. I had the pick just before him there. I was actually at my dad's house. I didn't have a spreadsheet, but to look at that. But the excellent D was still available that late, and he did a hell of a job to get it. In addition to the Baltimore halfbacks, the all Baltimore team there came out looking really good, and he's done a great job with them.
You've gotten it with Washington D line?
No,
it had
one combination of excellent run.
Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, it had to be the.
How many times have you boxed me out of an excellent defense? I remember at least one last year's summer sprint. You boxed me out of it, and you couldn't box him out of an excellent defense.
I wanted that pass rush. I didn't want to be stuck with a non-pass rushing 3-4. So. But I think that I was lucky to still get average pass D, because I was happy that the Chicago linebackers lasted that long.
Yeah.
Rivers is a capable quarterback. He doesn't seem to throw him deep very much, right? I've seen very few owners who have him. You actually go deep with them, and he doesn't have as bad of interception as he used to, but it's still not particularly good. But he can throw all 3 levels. Pair that with the great halfbacks of Baltimore. up against that poor D. You can see how. I mean, those, poor against the run. Those Baltimore halfbacks could run wild again on that poor run D of Dunedin.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's good. It's a good matchup. Strength against weakness, I guess, in a way. But that it's not just one unit that decides who wins or loses.
Right.
That's for sure. And going back the other way, Carr, and then the Green Bay halfback. So Jones card, decent off tackle, big pops on end run, also big losses. Going to have to find a pop or two, probably out of Jones, right? So spent the 21st overall pick on these halfbacks. Going to have to get a lot of mileage out of them.
Jones has that chunky card. You got to keep running it. You got to keep running it. He was in my division in a couple leagues, and I had to face him. And guys sometimes they give up a little bit too early on running backs like him. You get the long gain on 9. You got to keep trying it.
Well, you could see the game script going if he doesn't follow your advice, Michael. That with that excellent run D, just sit back and call pass all game. Got to find a way to establish Jones and break through that excellent run D.
Yeah, I was always trying to get excellent pass D. Obviously you feel like that's more important. But we had Wixom in the one of the other leagues. He was the only person to have excellent run D, and he ended up winning the league. Not in this league he got excellent, but in one of the other leagues we were playing, he was the only one with excellent run D. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wow, yeah, this excellent run D, it does allow these teams to do a lot against the pass, knowing that if you don't roll your running back card 2 out of 3 times, you might be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on Erie Dunedin? Not particularly dynamic wide receivers here. Limited.
Well, I think it'll definitely be a lot different than 51-10, but I still like Erie in that one. Like Dunedin was, minus in point differential, and that just is, that's tough to overcome when you're playing a strong team in the playoffs. So I expect Erie to win, but that's why they play the games. You never know.
For sure.
Yeah, another one, I blew out Dunyan also. So, I mean, he kind of had 75 negative points just in those 2 games. So it's a little misleading. He had the big, he was negative for points. He had two games that he really got blown out. Other than that, I don't see a game here he lost by more than 8 points.
Good point.
Other than that.
True. Even still, I think I tend to agree. Dunedin's sort of in trouble here. Doesn't mean that it's a loss. It's just going to have to mean that, to me anyway, Aaron Jones is going to have to chip in. That those Green Bay halfbacks are going to have a game, because you can see that the script from Erie against Dunedin's defense seems to be a much easier pathway to points than Dunedin's pathway to points, and therefore, because of the dynamic of Erie being able to lean on pass calls with that excellent run D, got to get Jones going.
Yeah, and how about a little some carries for Jamal Williams? Only 15 carries all year. If you run out of Jones carries, bring in Jamal Williams. Give him a chance.
Yeah, I expected to see him in my game too. I didn't see him because he had the 4 pass block. He was the only halfback with pass block, which matters against Rochester, and he didn't make an appearance there either. I saw more of the other Dylan than Williams. True.
Yeah, I saw Erie had the best defense in the league versus run, 4.4 average.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay, moving on. 3-seed Seattle taking on Butch and Wisconsin. What sticks out to you, Dennis?
I didn't really have a good choice here. I had either Derrick Henry in Pittsburgh, Patrick Mahomes with Drakeit. How do you say that, Mike? Drakeit?
Yeah, you had it right.
Drakeit. So them or Wisconsin, who had the better record and like you guys mentioned earlier, have done well with Kyle Allen. But the reason why I went with Butch is because he's really easy to schedule with. So if they don't have a good choice, otherwise, let's use
I think Willie disagrees with you.
non-football factors. Butch has been really easy for me to schedule. We can always, we're actually already scheduled tomorrow at 10 a.m. So
Right.
Pacific time. So that was the overriding factor. Now, I don't like the fact that he has a lot of pass rush and my pass blocking's not great. But my strength on my pass rush is on the ends, and his tackles, he has a 5 and a 4 there. So maybe that'll give me some juice on the other side. But I expect him to be throwing a lot of flats anyway, so maybe not a lot of sack chances to begin with. I just, like I said, no good choices here. So I think the key will be if I'm able to stop Melvin Gordon from hitting one of his big edge runs, like in our regular season game, he ran for a 72-yard touchdown and beat me, like you see there, 28-12. But I'm not going to throw. I don't think I'm going to throw 3 picks again. I can't say for sure, but I don't think Watson's going to throw 3 interceptions. So I think it'll be a closer game.
How did those picks happen? Do you remember? Were they early and they got you down, or was it in the comeback mode?
It was 0-0. The first pick happened where I was like at his 10-yard line and threw a pick in the end zone, and then one of them was a flat pass on his D card. And I don't remember the other one. Maybe a late one, late in the first half or late in the game. I can't remember the third one.
Watson had one of those games. I mean, put the 3 picks aside, right? I mean, 45% completion.
Right.
Even if that's interesting.
Yeah. So he's got all 3 teams I would choose from had average pass defense. So I wasn't getting any big push there, and he does have good run defense. So I just picked him because I think I can do a better job on defense against Kyle Allen. I'm not as scared of Melvin Gordon as I am of King Henry and the New England halfbacks. So that also helped push me in that direction. So, but it's if he hits those flat passes land on his card consistently, I'm in trouble.
Good average. You are good against the run, average against the pass. And as you said, for Butch, also the same. Good against the run, average against the pass. Yeah, he did have a good pass rush. Finished 3rd in the league in sacks, 26. You see Kyle Allen, 83.7 rating. So I haven't taken a look. We could take a look at the league leaders, but so many better quarterbacks on paper fall behind these guys. And why? Because the coaches are smart enough to trim their mission, to trim their objective down to something that's manageable for the Cards, while you have people like Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, down in the 70s in their rating because we're flinging it all over the field against well-called defenses. Butch, Tyke have taken small ball quarterbacks and played to their style. And look at this. They get great results.
Yeah, I think Butch has done a great job with this offense. Kyle Allen actually had the 10th highest quarterback rating in the league. And he had the most completions in the league at 400 completions. But yeah, he's done a great job with this offense. He doesn't have anything flashy. Gordon, I like Gordon better than most people. But he's done a great job with them. 25 TDs, 8 picks. He's making good decisions there. And to take these guys to 11-6 with what he was working with, it was a great job.
Yeah, I think the reason why Kyle Allen got looked over is that a lot of people were looking at Washington and they wouldn't think of Kyle Allen as a starter because he had limited starts. They would look at, I don't know who else was there, Heineke or Haskins or somebody else. So it's like a 3-hit. Oh, Alex Smith. Yeah, so Alex Smith may have been listed as a starter on the depth chart, but Kyle Allen's legal to play. You can play anybody that you draft, and his card was really strong.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 15 short pass right. That's very good. That's higher than Matt Ryan.
Exactly. So it's not really a weak card on paper. Maybe weak on the deep pass zone, but the short and flat are fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, Wisconsin Actually, didn't shy away from the deep ball though. Finished 9th in the league in long pass attempts with 81.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens tomorrow if I can hold off the mighty Kyle Allen and Melvin Gordon. It's going to be tough. Butch is a good coach.
Yeah, one of the funny things you mentioned was Watson. They had the 3 picks. His rating led the league, obviously, at 109. So, I mean, with Watson, you got your hands full on defense.
Mm-hmm. Last game, unless we have anything else on this one, is Michael. Your squad takes on Pitt. It's a good matchup right there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, when we played early this year, another one of the games, just like I played earlier, the playoff game, neither one of us could stop each other. Up and down the field, Henry running for his 7.5 yards a run, and me chugging along, Mahomes hitting all the big passes that he needs to hit when he needs to hit them. And I had a 7-point lead at one point, and he hit a bomb to Dawson Knox to start the second half. I had a 7-point lead starting the second half. He hit a bomb to Knox, which got him tied at 17-17, and I thought I was in trouble because I was I had a first half where Henry really didn't hurt me badly. He only had a 31-yard run, and I thought I was going to be in big trouble, but I was able to, at one point, hold him, get 2 touchdowns in a row to go up by 14, and that really saved me. At the time, the 150 yards he told me when I played him may have been 6 or 7 games in. He told me that was the least number of yards that Henry had run for the entire year. I think he averaged 167 yards a game, 162 yards a game. So 20 run calls. I probably got lucky there. He only got 150 yards, and I didn't turn the ball over. Oh yeah, I fumbled. I lost a fumble, and Minshew threw 2 picks. I don't actually remember what the 2 picks were, but yeah, just a game where back and forth we couldn't stop each other. I have good average defense. I think he has average.
Average, yes.
Yeah, he does have average. And he plays 3-4, and I have a 4-3 defense.
Looks like you ran a lot. You ran a lot in that game too. More runs than runs the pass. But you were leading the entire way. It looks like you did not give up. You never gave up the lead, despite it being a close game, which I guess would
tied, right?
Contribute to your play calling choices, unless something else is going on. And why not? By the way, I love those backs, as you know.
Yeah, Ron plays me tough. I don't think I have a great record versus Ron. Actually, looking up, I'd have to check my notes.
Mm-hmm. Me too. By the way.
But yeah, he does a really good job, and I was quite lucky to get away with this one. This game was one of the early games that I kind of started to figure out the balance that I needed between Mahomes and the run. But yeah, yes, his offense is so tough to stop. I'll give you an example, right? I win this game by 7. He's 6.2 yards per play against me, 6.9 running, 6.1 passing. It's like you got to pick your poison with him pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised to see after 17 games that Henry ran wrong 73% of the time. No, 63.
Let's see.
Which is a lot more than I would have thought.
Yeah, overall 70, 30, only 30% guessed right running for the team, right? Yeah, which is in the middle of the league, right in the middle. Very good point.
Right.
Every other really good point. Every other league, I have 2 of them, that Henry was always tied to the highest guess right running percentage for an offense. Yeah, in this case, middle of the pack. Interesting. And hey, I mean, there's a way to look at that, right? Which is, okay, so you have the chance of the bombs, but if you're facing Tannehill, in a stock league, I mean, those long gains are all over the place. I mean, on a long pass guessed wrong situation, you're in much worse position long pass guessed wrong than you are end run wrong. You're not in a great position either way, of course, in either of those wrong columns. But the Tannehill on a number basis is actually a more dangerous card and more expected yards than Henry, depending on the defense, of course.
Yeah, because the Minshew's only 5 out of 36 long pass right.
Right.
There was one big play I wanted to
Minshew.
mention in this game. There was a 4th and 1, and he ran Derrick Henry linebacker. And my middle linebacker is a 6 against the run, and I had him plugged. And Henry hit that linebacker on that 4th down play. That play ended up getting me the 2-score lead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was up 7. He was trying to tie it, and I was very fortunate there. You know, he was running right, but I was able to plug and get that linebacker 6 on a 6 roll, which I think, you know, he must have been stunned that he got stopped on that, and that was really one of the biggest plays in the game. Probably would have been tied if I wasn't able to stop him there on 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can happen. A lot of 6 middle linebackers can plug up that middle. And Henry can, by the way, Henry can do that on his own card too, right? I mean, he's not a dominant runner in the middle of his card. He's got, of course, plenty of gains in the middle of his card here and there, especially guessed wrong, but guessed right, nope. And he of course, he even has that guessed wrong 7 for no gain on the end run. So, I mean, Henry himself can slow you down in those situations. Of course, he has a bunch of keyed yards, but mostly outside the middle of the card.
Right.
Pittsburgh ended up 9th in the league in run attempts and 8th in the league in pass attempts. So, you know, pretty balanced. And as overall guessed right percentage, 4th in the league, just 52%. And that's Henry's going to do that to you. Henry's going to give you a lot of guessed wrong either way. In the end,
other teams against him, he got the 4th most run calls.
He was playing guessed right 52% of the time on all of his calls. All of his calls, which is 4th best in the league from an offensive perspective.
Oh, okay.
Lower is better, right?
Lower, right. Yeah.
Yep.
So he was wrong 4th most.
His defenses. Yep. His defenses were wrong 4th most. Yep.
Right.
Which makes sense. And by the way, we've seen this pairing, Dennis. I think we saw this pairing in Frozen Tundra of Mahomes and Henry with Duke's squad, and this pairing goes a long way. That went to the championship game in Frozen Tundra. I've seen a lot of Minshew in draft leagues taking good teams deep. And in most cases, he wasn't drafted by that team. He was traded into it.
Right. It's a good Band-Aid quarterback. People don't look to him maybe as a long-term value, so they give him away a little cheaper in trade.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's worked. Minshew and Henry got to the Super Bowl. Did they win the Super Bowl? Wait a minute. Who won Frozen Tundra? They did, right?
No, they lost to Cincy. Justin. That's right. Justin Nagel.
Justin, right.
Yeah.
So, but it certainly was a close game. It's a championship-level combo, that's for sure.
Other things to look at: Pittsburgh picked the last kicker in the set with Detroit. So that's an interesting nugget. And Michael, you took your 10th round pick was spent on your wide receivers.
Yeah,
has that hampered you this year?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't think a ton, but yeah, it's not great having those wide receivers. You know, it's funny because in 78, what is it, summer sprint?
Yes,
I had the top wide receiver group, the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So I decided to try the worst wide receiver group.
you get a little bit of both now.
Yeah, I got a little bit of both, but. Yeah, it's so funny too because coming down the end, I got about 4 wide receiver groups, you know, picked out that I want. Well, that I'm going to take ahead of Indy, and of course they keep going, and I get my 17th group, pretty much Indy. But
yeah, not too shabby though. I mean, the thing is, in this league, you just want to be able to, you know, beat those average pass defenses with the defender X. It doesn't really matter who you have at receiver. You want them to help you out, you know, when you get the receiver ratings. But the groups are so close. I mean, there's probably the 12th to the 20th are really similar when you're looking at receiver groups.
Yeah, when you get down there, yes. I mean, the
Yeah.
guys at the top do offer separation for sure. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah, I
just
mean,
just the long gains alone versus the plus 27s, those add up.
yeah, the big difference is, the 16 hits short pass versus the 19 short pass hits.
Yeah.
I did feel like I threw a lot with Mahomes wrong, and I didn't get value with it.
Hmm.
A lot of times. But Cox, I think, has a 38 on three, has a 39 on three wrong short pass. So I do have that. Um, but yeah, I felt like I played a lot of corners that were 6 and 5s, and I wasn't really going to be able to do a lot against him anyway.
Hmm.
Um, and I do play the two tight end set with Cox. I have the Indy tight ends, so I play the two tight end set, Boyle and Cox. So I can use them, and also New England running backs catch the ball pretty good.
They do, and that's good. I guess we'll just. I don't know if we're gonna have a chance to do this again, so I just want to hear from you guys on. We'll just go around and just talk about how your team did versus what you expected and what you drafted, stepping out of the playoff matchup. But before we go there, um, predictions on this one, Dennis.
This game or each one?
On this one, there can be a specific point.
Um, I like I said, these were the three teams I had to choose from. Either these two, Drcut and Pittsburgh, or Wisconsin. So I'm going to say the reason why I avoided Mike is because he's like you, Anthony. He prepares to the nth degree with his reporting and spreadsheets, and he'll find a vulnerability. I think that maybe will make a small difference in the game, but I think this one's going to be a close win by Drcut. We'll say like 31-30, something like that.
Yeah, it should be a close one. I'm with you there, and I think it's going to come down to I the wide receiver fumble. Both of these quarterbacks don't help their team in that way. Which one of you is going to catch a bad break there, right? Could be the kicking as well. That could make the difference. And then the wild card of the obvious wild card is does Ron hit Derrick Henry? For a couple long ones. He went long of 31 for you in the regular season game. That's a very acceptable outcome. I think we'd all take that walking into a Henry game. One
Right.
run for 31's the long, take it, sign me up. So so that worked out favorably, and it was still a close game. So this is because of that. I mean, just because of the possibility of him hitting, you might have to give that slight edge. Because of the difference in home run hitting ability of the halfbacks. Because if you hit, you get 40. If he hits, he can get 80, right?
Right.
But you sort of put it in that same bucket as the fumbles, where Mahomes is slightly worse than the rating of Minshew, right? So if everything else is even, right, need breaks in those two categories. Because the percentages are just ever so slightly in Ron's favor on those two big lever points. And we saw turnovers crop up last night. If in the Rochester game, that should have been a close game, but the quarterback was popped up as a fumble, and then of course fluky ones too can turn a game fast. So, all right, Michael, you want to comment any more about how your team did throughout the regular season? How you drafted versus how they performed?
I thought I drafted pretty good. I'm a little disappointed in the performance. I think I was 8-4 at one point, and I just couldn't get this team to play how I wanted them to play. 3-point losses every single game, pretty much. I lost in overtime to Erie. I lost. Wixom beat me by 7, and I did lose a game by 4 to Ann Arbor. But a field goal here or there seemed to cost me every time. 3 games I had double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, and I lost them.
Mm.
I lost to Canton. Was
Do you
beating
have
him
problems with an
17.
onside kick at all? Do you have onside trick? Did you have onside kick woes?
No,
Okay.
no, didn't have those. Canton, I had a 17-3 lead. I missed a field goal. A 31 out of 36 field goal I missed. He went down. He scored. Taylor hit me with an 86-yard run. He stopped me again. I punted. Tucker hit a 38-yard field goal. He ended up beating me. And then I had another game. I can't remember the other one. But anyway, I had a lot of blown leads for this team. St. Pete. No, that one wasn't. But yeah, I really underperformed. Oh, is it Wamia? Wamia there? 13-point lead.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 10-point lead in the fourth. I ended up losing that game. I threw an interception to Andrew Van Ginkel with about 3 minutes left, and that ended up in a tie game. That cost me that. So, yeah, really this is the first league since I came back playing. I've only been playing for a year. This is the first league that I grabbed a 4-3 defense.
Mm.
And it's been very difficult. I've had 3-4 pretty much in all the other leagues that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been hard to get adjusted to that. And especially with these flat passing cards, which are so good. We're talking about how many teams made it to the playoffs with the really good flat passing cards. It's been tough with the 4-4-5 for the linebackers. And yeah, that's really it. Mahomes' is flat's not great, so that kind of hurts. But
well, that's the next question. I mean, would you talk about the 3-4-4-3? Is there any draft pick that you would have wished you wouldn't have made and did something else instead? Anything jump out on that front?
No, I still think I'd take Mahomes at the 7. I know, that's one thing I did want to mention to you. The fumbles actually have not hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had 3 fumbles. I think I lost 1 from the wide receivers. So I have got really lucky on that. But, I would only lose actually 1 out of every 4 when it comes up because I have to lose the 1 out of 3.
Fumble too. Sure. Oh yeah, totally.
And
And you've minimized your flat passing for sure. I mean, throughout the year, and that's going to help too. That's going to, you're just going to have to shade away from that, and that minimizes the chances.
Yeah, no, I think the drafting was fine. I mean, in retrospect, maybe I would have passed on the New England halfback. I didn't realize, you just told me though, they were the 9th halfbacks picked. That's pretty late. So I do understand why maybe I went with the halfbacks in the second round. But I would have really loved if I could have taken the Baltimore linebackers there now in retrospect. That might have been better. That would have possibly been able to get me the excellent run D. But that's another thing, Anthony. I go into these drafts. I know what my strong suit is. It's playing defense. You go to the league chart, I'm tied for third in the league in points allowed.
That New England halfback pick was I think by far I mean, it sticks out. Not that I'm rating the other picks, but it sticks out as your best pick by far. And that's not because I really like those halfbacks. Just take a look. Back on the swing, right? When it swings back to you, look how long it was 3 rounds until another halfback unit was taken. You got it right at the break point. You couldn't let if you would have let that pick go, you would have been stuck with Jacksonville or Buffalo or Denver. You'd have been down a whole grade. So that was a superior pick, that New England halfback pick. Just ideal.
Yeah, because then San Francisco went.
Yeah,
and then the Rams.
Right.
The Rams.
And then after that, you can see it here, right? After the Rams, it went from 3 to 6.
Oh yeah, big jump. Yeah.
Buffalo. And this group is definitely, you could put a line, especially with San Francisco going up, right? You could put a line between San Francisco going up and everybody else and down, with the Rams sort of in between. So that was just an ideal pick there. He had to do it. So, Dennis, thoughts on your season? If you can hear us, are you there? Dennis on mute. I will go. Hopefully we get Dennis back. For Rochester, the headline, I guess, has to go to the defense, because that was the most interesting part of the squad. We picked up 60 some sacks, I think, and that was number one in the league. Obviously, Wixom was second with 29. Of course,
Wow.
Paid a price for it, and that was in very successful quarterbacking against. As you can see, the opponents completed 70% against on my poor pasty. And I think I noted in a couple of the game summaries that, it was very interesting dynamic that poor pass defense was not facing any short and long passes on a percentage basis compared to the rest of the league. We just got flat passed to death. Nobody wanted to take the chance. Very few, I should say, wanted to take the chance of going short and long. I mean, Dennis did in the beginning of his game, got put on his butt 4 or 5 times, I think, in the first quarter, and then he won the game by flat passing and running the rest of the way.
Right.
So he very quickly changed strategies, and so that I guess the lesson, if you want to stretch out the lesson, is a good pass rush can bring up a bad set of defensive backs, but in this case, it just turned into whack-a-mole, right? And not that the defense failed. The defense definitely didn't fail. I think this defense is different. It's frustrating to play against. You have to get adjusted to it. But most teams adjusted to it. And in many cases, even when I would guess run more or put more in the flat and looking pass zone, it only marginally helped. It didn't. It's not like if I flooded the zones and guessed run that all of a sudden I could stop the opponent, because if you just picked 1 out of 3 of those zones that weren't covered, they're getting real yards. So as you can see here, ended up though an average per play 5.7 to 5.3. I can tell you halfway through the season that wasn't close, and that wasn't close not because of a poor defensive performance, but because of Herbert just had a really rough year, and Herbert had a rough year mostly because Singletary wasn't doing much on first down, especially early in games. So, Singletary ended up with a pretty good season, 1,200 yards, 5.0, which is probably below average for running backs in this league. But the lack of running success cost Herbert. He was down at 70, maybe 12 as a rating. 12 games in, he brought it up 7 points at the end. But you see 16 picks, 23 TDs. Much rather have Prescott's ratio or Kyle Allen's ratio than that. The pick of the tight ends worked out pretty well. They're a really good group. So if you look at the picks here, ended up taking the Philly tight end as sort of a wild pick in the 4th round. And they bring a lot of answers to the offense. So teams that double team a lot have to deal with a lot of long pass, no man passing. I finished 3rd in the league, facing 0.5 free safeties in the long pass zone when I threw deep. So people were double teaming against me, but I have enough options because of those Philly tight ends where I could actually get a lot of long pass 0-man opportunities, which is all sort of what we hunt for. But overall, Herbert really wasn't connecting that well through most of the year. I was under 500. I was sitting at 6 and 8, and had to come back to win the last 3 to get in. If I had to change a pick, I would, even though Philly tight ends have been doing well for me, I would have taken somebody else in the 4th round, and that would have been a linebacker or DB, and that would have gotten me to average, would have locked in average pass D in the 4th round, taking a linebacker or a DB instead. And by not doing that and hoping one of them survived to the next round, and none of them did, they all went. Look at all these linebackers and DBs that went right in here. Since they all went, I had to go to this pass rush strategy, which has been fun. I'll tell you that much. As much as I, may do the pick differently, it's not like I sit around regretting it all day. It's been a very fun defense to run with all this blitzing. It looks like my Samsfa team from next year, just 12s everywhere. Dennis, are you back? Dennis, if you can hear us, we assume you're busy with things. We'll give you a few more seconds to come back if you can.
Hey, what's up?
Okay, could you just give us a quick season review? How'd your team do versus your drafting? What you expected out of your team and how they did?
I think it was about what I expected. I mean, I don't have any good points for it. The average pass defense is going to limit, what you're going to be able to do defensively in certain games. People will hit you with those bombs or whatever. But yeah, no, I was performed well. I mean,
how
I
about
don't
your
have any
O-line?
regrets.
How about that saving that 10th round pick for O-line? It's going to hurt you a
Um,
little bit, but has it hurt you more than you thought it would?
No, I think that's one of my concerns in the matchup against Butch is that he can get me with that. He has really strong pass rush. But I gave up 21 sacks all year. Yeah, I got sacked 21 times. Which what is that, Anthony? Tell me in your rankings.
Well, it was 15th out of 18th in pass block sack percentage. So you were down there. You may not have faced a lot. Let's see. Do I have sacks on offense against? I don't have that here. But I see you were 15th in pass blocking. So 26% of your sacks got through. So you may have minimized attempts. You may have if you were happy with your sacks. Any picks you would have changed looking back over it?
Trying to remember. Let me zoom in.
Got it up here.
There we go. No, I think you're not going to get everybody you want. I kind of was really hoping for a different tight end group, and New England was the last tight end group I wanted. But I kind of like them. They're actually working out well. So
I like them too. At the 9th round, I like them a lot because you get the blocking back long pass, and Izzo gives you yards.
Yeah. So no, I'm the team's pretty good. We'll see what happens. I think these final 8 teams. I can see any of these 8 teams winning the league. So that's all you want. You want to be in there with a chance to win it.
All right. Well, we will leave it there. Any final thoughts, Michael?
No, it's been a great season. I think everyone's played very well, very competitive. I mean, everyone had, other than one team, had 3 losses, 4 or more losses. I thought it was very competitive. 10 teams made the playoffs. That's got to be a record.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's been a great year.
Okay. And Dennis, any hints on summer sprint?
Yeah, well, let's decide it right now. What do you guys? What season do you guys want to do? The 3 of us can decide.
I like it. We haven't done 87 in the mix.
We could do that. I was thinking about even going back further to the early 70s or the late 60s. But if you want to go back to the 80s, we can do that too.
I was 12 years old in 87, so that's that was like I think when we're 12 years old, that was typically the pinnacle, right, of us being able to devote time to Stratomatic football. So
you've never done a 60s season. Is there anyone in particular, Dennis, you were looking for in the 60s?
Well, I mean, we have those super teams in 63 and 67. So that might be an interesting thing to do. But if we were just doing straight 60s, maybe 64 would be a fun set. 68, 64 would be the other ones I think would be fun. What about you? Michael, what do you like?
Me or Michael?
Yeah, Michael.
I don't care. I loved all the 60 seasons when we played them. Even those 50 seasons we played, I had a ball. Although there's not many teams in the 50 league. I think there's only 12.
Yeah, we can't do 50s. We have too many coaches. Unless we combined a couple of seasons or something crazy like that. But
what's left in the 70s?
We've only done 78 and 79 in the 70s. So we could go to maybe 73. That's kind of a cool season. Mm-hmm. 76 is good. Mm-hmm. But I could see jumping to the 60s. The 80s, I think 87 has some inherent issues with the We haven't done it in our
That's
stock league because of the sacks. The sacks are off in 87. Too many sacks. So I think I would shy away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But what other seasons we could do? 80.
Another one you haven't looked at is the latest you've done is 89. Did you want to jump into a 90 season?
That's what I was just gonna say. We could do a 90s maybe. So something to think about. Do 93 with one of those Cowboys, Redskins, Packers, Niners. Great team.
Yeah.
That might be fun.
That would be interesting. The problem I'd have with the 60s, and maybe a few of us are like me, and I'm sure you guys are kind of the same. I don't know all the players very well at all. Being born in 75.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a big learning curve there. You know the big names, of course, the Hall of Famers and a few down from there, but there's a learning curve there, which isn't the end of the world. Don't get me wrong; it's fun to learn about seasons. So there's an upside to it. So
yeah, once Dennis sends us the spreadsheet, they're all numbers after that.
Exactly. And it's fun to learn about those names. And you wind up seeing guys that are like coaches for your teams that in the 80s. You can see what they did when they played. Jack Patera was like a coach or a player on the Colts, linebacker on the Colts. He was the Seahawks' first coach in the 70s. So, stuff like that's kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
And Butch has joined us, but he's muted. Butch, we're about to sign off, so if you have anything to add, now's your time. How are you going to take on Dennis here?
I love the fact that Dennis told me he scheduled me because I'm easy to schedule. He scheduled me because he likes to kick my butt.
That's not true. You beat me in the regular season. The more Anthony dove into the numbers, the less I liked my choice of picking you. So I'm not looking forward to.
We always have a good fun game, though. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It's always exciting. That's for sure. I can't count of how many games we've had go down to the last play.
Exactly. So it's not going to be an easy one, but it'll be fun.
Yep. All right, guys. Sorry I got on late. I was just dozing around here. So have a good one. I'll talk to you all soon.
All right. And guys, I'll be in meetings tomorrow. I will not be able to broadcast that one, unfortunately. So maybe we can get Tyke in there.
I might do a stream of consciousness as we're playing.
That'd be great.
Okay, guys.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Good luck in the playoffs.